Alright, hello there, welcome back to another way different video. Today's video, we are going to be talking about the first impressions that I got and my overall thoughts about Dragon Ball Sparking Zero with my day one of gameplay. Now, to be honest with you, if you're clicking on this video and you want a brief TLDR, too long didn't read or too long didn't watch, I'm going to give you a quick summary right now and I'll get a little bit more elaborate as the video goes. This game is great. This is the type of game you can play with your friends. This is the type of game you can play competitively. This is the type of game you can just entertain yourself with if you want to see cool animations or if you want to be, reflecting on the history of Dragon Ball with all these characters. They got so many characters. I'm pretty sure it's listed at 182 characters, but I also have a little bit of a gripe about that as well. I'll get into that as well. But the summary of this is the game is really, really good. And there is a lot to be happy about, whether you're a competitive Dragon Ball fan or a casual Dragon Ball fan. So let's get straight into it. Now, first things first is the gameplay. The gameplay is super elaborate. There are so many mechanics. And to be honest with you, I was expressing this to my cousin yesterday when explaining it to him. This game is so pure with its mechanics. There's no RNG, no luck to any of this stuff, that if you lose, you lost. I use this example all the time when explaining this, but if you play a game like 2K, right, NBA 2K, let's say you shoot a shot and the ball goes in. Sometimes the defender can be all up on you and there's just luck-based, kind of events that can happen, whether the ball goes in or out. Even if you release it well, if the defender's on you, it changes things, right? So if the ball goes in, you're playing with your friend, oh, that's a lucky shot. If you hit a half-court shot, oh, that's a lucky shot. With this game, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, everything feels extremely skill-based. If you get your ass beat, there's no excuses. The only thing you can say is your character's better than mine, but even cheesing with the movesets is just super hard because of the way they regulated how you can do things. This game is all about skill. So if you're going to go on ranked and if you're going to get your ass beat, you can't complain about, anything other than the other players just better than you, or maybe, you got to figure them out. Kind of like Mortal Kombat, to where you're like, okay, there's no luck-based things here. When you fight someone, that's how it goes. The more you play, the more you understand the other player, sure. But if you lose, you lose. That's all there is to it. If you lose, you lose. The next thing I want to talk about here is the animations. The animations are flawless, as you'd expect. I spent a lot of time just practicing with Gogeta and Vegito and just seeing the different combos, animations, because the combos itself, if you press square triangle, it'll be the same for all characters. But the animations are different. So Gogeta had some different ones. Vegito, really everyone really has a different way of doing these things. But man, it was super entertaining to be all these kinds of characters and seeing the way they fight. For example, if you pick Hit, his fighting style with the animations is so cool. Everything is so time skip based. I absolutely love and adore what they did with Hit. Probably one of the more entertaining characters that I've played so far. I would say him, Gogeta, and Vegito, probably my top three. I haven't played everyone yet, so can't really give my input on all the characters, but the characters I've played so far, those are definitely my top three right there. The next thing I want to talk about is the story mode. Story mode isn't too hype. I played it for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's what you'd expect in any Dragon Ball Z game, really just showing eventful fights of, the timeline. Nothing really crazy about it. It can definitely be difficult for certain fights, like the grade 8 fights or stuff like that, but it's a regular campaign. There's nothing to write home about it. If you're looking forward to this game because you want to play the campaign, I don't think you're going to be super overly hyped about it. Like I said, it's straightforward. It's vanilla, what you'd expect, to be honest. Now, a lot of people get into this game, and from what I've seen on just threads on Reddit, the controls are a lot to handle. And yes, they are. And you've probably seen videos where people say, go to the tutorial, go to the tutorial. My biggest gripe is the tutorial kind of sucks. yes, it explains the controls, but it can be really confusing. And even if you hit the explanation button, it's just not ideal. Granted, there is a demo mode which does help, but for example, the one where you're stopping your opponent in the middle of their combo, it seems inconsistent at times when it works. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Now I know it's a precise timing kind of thing, but it's still just confusing because there's no real indication of when to do it. Even if you press it right before, sometimes it doesn't work. That's the one thing where I'm really confused about, and I think the tutorial doesn't explain that very well. The impact stuff, I don't think the tutorial explained very well. A lot of people are like, oh, how do you do this? How do you do that? And then others are saying, go to the tutorial, LOL. But it's like, I spent 2 hours in the tutorial. I did everything, and I'm serious. I spent 2 hours in that bitch because I wanted to get it all down. Now, was it worth doing? Absolutely. But I think it could be better and a bit more clear on some of the topics that they discuss. Okay, let's talk about the transformations. They are what you expected them to be, which is epic. I love how many transformations there are in this game. If you pick Goku, if you pick Vegeta, you pick, Super Boo, you're gonna be seeing some dope shit. Players are gonna be very, very hyped with the amount of animations that there are. There's a lot. It is just cinematic to say the least. And the ultimates, I love how cinematic this game feels. And that's really the Tenkaichi experience. That's the Raging Blast experience. You have to get that kind of cinematic stuff. But in 2024, with how good everything looks right now, it's just so freaking awesome. Because in Xenoverse 2, it wasn't cinematic like this game at all. At all. But no, dude, this feels amazing to experience. If you learn some combos to be able to land an ultimate, oh man, it's awesome. Okay, something I want to talk about and highlight that bothered me a little bit. It's not the end of the world. It's not a big deal. But so they say, I'm pretty sure the number is 182 characters. I'm pretty sure that's the number. I could be wrong. But they say there's all these characters, you know what I mean? And oh man, look at our entire character select screen. I think they could condense this screen by just cutting the shit, like cutting the bullshit is what I mean. And for example, this is what I mean. You have Goku Super, right, as a character. Awesome. Well, Goku Super, he can turn to Super Saiyan 1. He can turn to Super Saiyan 2. He can turn to Super Saiyan God. He can turn to Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, aka Super Saiyan Blue. But for some freaking reason, they have it to where the transformations are separate characters. And that to me is confusing. Like, why? And if you pick... So, on the character select screen, you can pick Goku Super, but you can also pick Goku Super Saiyan Super. Like the Super Saiyan version in Super. But they're the same fucking character once you get into the game, because you can just de-transform. Is that a word? I don't know. You can go back to your base form. If you're a Super Saiyan God, you can go back to your base form. But if you start out as Super, you can also transform to Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan. They're trying to make it seem like they have all these characters, and they do. They definitely do, but they're overdoing it. I think they could condense it a lot more if you just showed Goku Super, and then, if you want to start out as a Super Saiyan God Super, once you click on Goku Super, you should have it as those options, just like in Tenkaichi 3. I believe that's how it worked in that game. But just show the base form, the starter form. And again, if you want to start out as a transformed version, then you can pick that once you already picked the character. But they're making the character select screen a little bit more cluttered than it needs to be, because there's so many examples of this happening. For example, Gohan Future. If you pick Gohan Future, don't worry, you can still transform to a Super Saiyan, but there's still two different freaking characters. Same thing with Trunks Sword. And again, the list goes on and on. Gotenks. I picked Gotenks base. Don't worry, I can still transform to Gotenks Super Saiyan and Gotenks Super Saiyan 3. So the character select screen is way more cluttered than it used to be. Way more cluttered than it needs to be. Is this the end of the world? No, it's not. Do I think it's necessary? No, I don't. I think they can just make this character select screen a little bit more uncluttered. It's too cluttered if you ask me, because of, well, I just explained why. For those of you that are getting frustrated by the game, if you're in your first hour of playing, I can tell you this: just keep playing, get through that early rust or early confusion that you have with the controls. You'll get it down, you'll learn it. Now, I do recommend that you still go back to the tutorial every now and then to remind yourself of mechanics that you can use, or attacks that you can use, because you might forget about it. Do I think the tutorial is perfect? No, but at the end of the day, it shows you moves that you might forget about that can be important. So I do recommend you go back to that every now and then until you fully master every attack and every mechanic. I just truly believe that because there's so many, it is so easy to forget about all that you can do. This game is great. Again, if you're frustrated early on, you'll get through it. Just keep playing. Also remind yourself that with all that you can do, there is so many characters that you might like in terms of gameplay and you might not like. Just try out as many as possible, and there's a lot. There is a lot of characters. So I would just highly recommend find your main by experimenting with everyone. Enjoy this exploration process because there's a lot to explore. Anyway, those are my thoughts and reviews. Summary is, I think this game is great. It has a lot to offer. Let me know what you guys think. I'm looking forward to continuing to play this game and seeing more of what it has to offer. As always, I greatly appreciate you guys for watching. This is I've Been Different. Oh, we've been different. And we out.